Here we are, still in the surrounds of Argos. You can see the beautiful view and the sea in the background. But here we have a very particular and special construction. This is quite collapsed, but it's sort of a pyramid. And of course the highest part is not there anymore. But what really makes this place special, especially if you think that we are in Greece, it's got this pyramidal shape, and the blocks that make it are polygonal. And this is real polygonal stuff. You can see already on this side there's not much left, but those blocks are really going one into the other with very nice joints. We go now on the best preserved part of the pyramid. We are on top of a little hill near some mountains in the surrounding, and the blocks are huge as usual, or let's say big. After the Harayon, this is big, not really huge but still big. And you can see here there's really fantastic polygonal shape. It's really not in the best conditions, but it's still very nice. You can go around it. This border here is really beautiful, beautiful. The basic shape is a square. It's still, 3.5 meters high. The blocks are quite big. I will show you now with Deborah to give a sense of scale, but it's collapsed. Okay, so you can see Deborah, just to give a sense of scale of the size of the blocks, that they are, it's not small blocks. It's not huge, but it's quite big. Apparently there's a few of these around in this area, but this is the bestly preserved. You can see the small triangular block there, which is really common also in the polygonal walls of central Italy. And here we have an entrance with a triangular top, still standing, which is quite interesting. And let's go in to see what happens here. So it's not a solid rock pyramid as you have in Egypt, with just a small chamber inside, but there's a real inside room here. Square room. Even on the inside it's polygonal, but not so nicely cut as on the outside. Really strange place. So there's an entrance corridor, which supposedly was closed once. And then you have this square chamber here. So the walls inside the room, they go up straight. And what about the dating? So some even recent thermoluminescent dating say that it's around 2500 BC, so that would place it at 4,500, 5,000 years ago, which is a very ancient date. This is the fourth side. You can see Deborah, how small she is, of course, compared to other things we will see around here. It's not really a huge construction, but it's really unique. Polygonal walls on a pyramid. In ancient times, when it was visited first by some chronologists back then, it was considered to be a tomb, of course, but recently it's been given also other possible functions. Okay, just to give you a sense of scale, I am 2 meters tall, so this doorway, this gate, is around 3, I would guess. And the interesting thing is this place, as I said, one of the datings is 2500 BC. So I've seen gates like this in central Italy, and they were dated 1000, maybe even less, maybe a little bit more. But anyway, that's 1500 years later. So the big question is, the same masonry in two nearby lands, we can say, Greece and Italy, and the dating is just so different. Why is that? And I personally believe that they have never recently been studied, all these places with polygonal masonry, as you can see here all over the place. They have never been studied as one whole culture with this possibility, at least not recently. Every local archaeological office and organization will just study it as part of the local culture. So in Lazio, the region of Italy where the Romans are, they are Roman. If you go to Tuscany, they are Etruscan. If you go to other regions, it's other native people of those regions. And here, of course, they are from some ancient Greek population, which doesn't actually even have a name, probably. But if you go back 200 years or so, when the first researchers were traveling in these areas and making drawings, beautiful drawings of these places, back then they were actually looking for one culture, which they used to call Pelasgic, which had this characteristic of making polygonal walls, polygonal masonry. And one of these researchers, which has been the basis for me when I decided in which places I wanted to go here in Greece, is Mr. Dodwell. I'm not sure, I don't remember the name right now. But anyway, Edward Dodwell. He made beautiful drawings of Greece and of Italy, of Italian sites like this. And for them, it was just the research into this Pelasgic culture which made these ancient polygonal buildings. And where does the name come from? Some ancient writers, Greek, I believe, or Roman, they spoke about a population with this name. So nowadays, I'm not sure if archaeologists recognize this population as actually an actual population existing. Some consider it to be a myth, others still believe that there was a population like this, but it does actually make sense if you have the same type of construction in different places, especially if they're all around the Mediterranean, because you have also things like that in Turkey, that they may have been done by the same people, especially if you consider that this is not a logical and common way of building. I mean, you can see the size of these boulders, it's already very big. And then to make them hang one into the other with these particular joints, which we have seen, especially on the other wall, it's not that evident on this wall, but these special joints that make them go together quite well, which again you find in Egypt, and you find it as well in Peru. Here we see a few which are really special, I believe. There, you can see all the stones going one into the other with not perfect joints. It's not perfect anymore. But yeah, the question is there. Was there a primitive population sometime in the past which made all these places in central Italy as well as in Greece and in Turkey? Or was it just that they all built in this type of construction? We wouldn't build today like this, I just say that. Nobody today builds like this. Why? Because it's not an easy task to put this stone. Is probably, well, I would say maybe 1 or 2 tons weight, and to put it in place with exactly the right angle to fit with the others, that's not an easy task here too, to cut out this little piece to fit that stone. If it doesn't fit what you do, you take it down again, you work it a little bit more and put it back again. It's not an easy task to do, especially if you don't have modern equipment like we have today. So in the past they are supposed not to have had this type of equipment. So, and the other thing I just noticed before, but you can see it again, is there's a line going, which is basically the baseline on which then the pyramid was built, and it's going here all along this side of the pyramid. And if we move to the other side, you can see it just goes on here it goes on. It goes on. Here it gets almost to ground level because probably this is the highest part of the hill. It goes on. And it goes on even after the doorway, the gate. There you can see it here. It's going on like this. Always at the same height. So they established a platform on the top of the hill, and from that they built up the pyramid. Now the question is, was this pyramid a real pyramid going up to a top? I believe nobody really knows the answer to this question. From my small observations today, it might have been, but it also might not have been a complete pyramid, because there's no stones around to make it to the top. But if there were, it might also have been, which I've seen happening in many places, that the local people over the millennia would just carry the rocks away, the stones away, the material away to build their own homes. So that might be a possibility. So the fact that there's no stones to build the whole pyramid doesn't mean that it was not a pyramid, but actually we don't know. I'll make a small calculation to understand how high it might have been. It doesn't take long. I can take a picture and calculate the angulation, and then I will know. So I measured about the size of this side of the pyramid, and it's about 14 meters. And I was able to guess the inclination of the sloped walls going up, which is between 60 and 65 degrees. So if I take these two informations, the size of 14 meters and the inclination of 60 to 65 degrees, and it was originally a pyramid, it would have been tall about between 12 and 15 meters. So that's really tall for such a small building. It was really going up at an angle. It looks more like a Nubian pyramid than an Egyptian pyramid, because the Nubian pyramids were more like had a larger angle, so they were taller compared to the size of the base. But well, that's just a guess. If it was a pyramid, then it might have been between 12 and 15 meters high.